everyone, and Happy New Year. Hope everybody had a nice holiday season. Welcome to the launching ceremony of Ontario Heroes Career Clinic, and that's going to be followed up by the first session of this year on policing in Ontario. So my name is Dragana, and I will be the MC for this event this evening. So let me tell you something about myself. I'm the registered nurse with extensive background in long-term care sector for about 15 years. And then about 4 years ago, I moved on and I currently work as a care coordinator for Mississauga Halton home care. I'm also one of the volunteer board members of Ontario Heroes. So I would just like to give you some ground rules for this event. So I would like everybody to please mute your mics for the smooth conduct of this event. We request the audience to keep their questions in mind until the end of the event, when we're gonna have question and answers session. You can also post your questions in a chat box. This event will be streamed live and also will be recorded and later uploaded to the Ontario Heroes website. So let me now hand over the session to Ms. Chris Lamanil. She's barrister and solicitor and director of legal services of Ontario Heroes. And she will be presenting the opening remarks and welcoming the guests and participants. Ms. Chris Lamanil is a barrister, solicitor, trained alternative dispute resolution professional, as well as notary public in Ontario. She graduated from a law school in 2008 and moved to London, England to pursue her post-graduation from prestigious University College in London. She brings with her a number of years of international as well as domestic experience working as a lawyer in diverse fields such as human rights law, personal injury law, immigration and refugee law, real estate law, and has practiced as a general civil litigation lawyer for the most part of her career. So, Chris, I have an honor to welcome you, and over to you now.
Thank you so much, Dragana, for the kind introduction. And before I welcome everybody to this evening, I would like to especially extend a heartfelt thank you to Dragana and many others like her who are frontline workers for rendering all the services that you are during this pandemic. So with gratitude, I open this evening. A very, very warm welcome to one and all present here this evening. This is my absolute honor and pleasure to welcome Honorable Bonnie Crombie, Mayor of Mississauga. Welcome, Madam Mayor. Constable Davor Rosic of the OPP Mississauga Detachment. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Rosic. Retired Constable Mark Tonkin, who brings with him years of experience in policing and training new recruits. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Our Heroes Career Clinic scholarship sponsor, Mr. Jidin Das, who is a social worker by background, but now a realtor who is based in London, Ontario. Our recruiters, Jomon Nets from Staffing Solutions and Mr. Raj from New Age Healthcare Staffing. A very warm welcome to you all. A warm welcome to my fellow volunteers and board members, and a warm welcome to officials from the Federation of Sierra Leone Communities Canada, and a very warm welcome to all the participants who have spared time to join us this evening. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of Ontario Heroes and myself. I have been entrusted with the responsibility of giving you an overview of the Heroes Career Clinic. Today being the launch of the clinic, It is yet again a great honor to give a brief introduction on the Heroes Career Clinic. So essentially, the Heroes Career Clinic aims to facilitate and support job seekers across the province through networking and collaboration. So using our volunteer base and community partnerships, we hope to connect people and opportunities by providing mentorships, scholarships, industry relevant experience, volunteering opportunities, so on and so forth. I'm sure all of us here present this evening can relate to the fact that we have all at times sought opportunities, looked for mentorships, looked for linkages within the community for our first jobs, for our career trajectories. And that is exactly what the Heroes Career Clinic aims to facilitate, to provide you with the opportunities to connect community partners and job seekers. So we look forward to more recruiters and community partners to join hands with our mission. Praveen Varki, our CEO, president, and a renowned social worker in our community. Everyone knows he's a visionary, he's a natural leader. He has been connecting people in communities and opportunities for a very long time here in Canada and abroad. And it is our great privilege to use our foundation, our volunteers, to help people achieve professional growth and development when trying to settle in this beautiful country, our own Canada. And today we are going to launch our career clinic with the very first session being on policing in Ontario. I must admit that I myself have been a huge fan of people in uniform, let's say in general, and law enforcement. If not a lawyer, I would have probably been a law enforcement official myself if they would have had me. So to me personally, I look forward to this session, and I hope the many others who have joined us today are equally excited. So once again, on behalf of Ontario Heroes, welcome each and every one of you, our distinguished guests, speakers, participants, and everyone. So I hand it back to you, Dragana.
Thank you so much. Now it's the time to actually invite the person that is responsible for what's going on here tonight. I would like to invite Mr. Praveen Varki, the President and CEO of Ontario Heroes, for a presidential address. I would like to tell you a little bit about Praveen. He graduated in Masters of Social Work in Bangalore University in 2006, back in India. He's a registered social worker with Ontario College of Social Works, and he's practicing social work in Ontario since 2012. Currently, he's practicing medical social work at the Complex Medicine Clinic, Peel Memorial Health Center in Brampton, and also a part-time care coordinator with Mississauga Local Health Integration Network Access Care Team. He was also a social work with us at the Restore program, and he really excelled over there. And from then on, it's just the history. His area of expertise is medical social work, community mobilization, rehabilitation, elder care, system navigation and care coordination, community resources, palliative care, housing, income support services, complex case management, individual family counseling, admission and discharge planning, and so on and so on. So Praveen, over to you.
Thank you, Dragana. Good evening, everyone. I take this opportunity to welcome and thank you, all of you being with this evening today. Especially, I would like to thank our Honorable Mayor, Mississauga, Crombie, for taking time out of her busy schedule, even out of this unprecedented time. Thank you, Madam Mayor, joining us today. And welcome and thank you, Constable Davor Rosic and retired Constable Mark Tonkin, joining us today. Let me briefly introduce Ontario Heroes. I have a few slides, so let me share my screen. So I would like to quickly run over what's Ontario Heroes. So Ontario Heroes is a registered not-for-profit organization providing a range of voluntary services across Ontario. Ontario Heroes consist of a team of more than 100 volunteers with a diverse professional background from different cities of Ontario. What we do, we operate by complementing the Ontario healthcare system by providing system navigation, care coordination, liaising with public healthcare providers, primary care physicians, home and community care service providers, and partners in the circle of care to optimize resources and to address support requests. We are inspired by the vision to bring collaboration closer to people of Ontario. We work with diverse individuals and communities beyond barriers. So an overview of Ontario Hero Services, we offer legal, social services and healthcare system navigation to individuals, healthcare professionals and agencies across Ontario. So we have exclusive services for international students. We offer counseling services, free legal consultation, and also students and parents helpline, housing connections, job linkages, mentorship, student placement, volunteer opportunities, awards and scholarship, and also services available for individuals and community, family services, counseling services, and legal consultation, rehabilitation services, child and youth services. This is basically for children and youth with behavioral issues. Mental health support and navigation. We also have a food bank service and health promotion programs. So under the health promotion program, we have chronic disease management and wellness programs, wound care management, palliative care system navigation and linkages, and also chronic disease management program, seniors wellness, and also we do offer referrals and linkages. So our vision is foster collaboration with health, legal and social services across Ontario, and build capacity and develop community by coordinating appropriate resources and services, promote overall health and well-being of individuals and families, and also promote volunteerism and community giving. And also we have awards and scholarships, so we recognize and appreciate the contributions of the individuals and organizations promoting our values. So we believe in diversity, equity, inclusiveness, and excellence. So Ontario Heroes offers a unique platform for sharing knowledge, resources, system navigation and care coordination to overcome the systemic barriers and to improve overall quality of life for individuals and families, marginalized population, and from diverse communities across Ontario. So our service model, so we provide non-emergency services. Our intake, our response time is 48 to 72 hours. And our programs are volunteer driven. All the services are bound by privacy legislation and Ontario's Personal Health Information Protection Act. And also all of the services are free of cost. And we are launching our Heroes Career Clinic today. So it's basically to facilitate and support job seekers across the province through networking and collaboration, and followed by our first webinar on policing in Ontario. And next webinar coming up, licensing as a pharmacist in Ontario. So in nutshell, the uniqueness of the Ontario Heroes is we brought all the expertise under one roof to serve the community at large. Take an instance, we have professions like doctors, social workers, nurse practitioners, nurses, dietitians, pharmacists, kinesiologists, physiotherapists, IT and cybersecurity experts, engineers, and teachers and lawyer, and so on a voluntary basis. So there are 25 different professional background volunteers in our group, more than they are numbering 120 and more. For example, I'm a registered social worker, so my services and expertise only available to the clients I meet where I work, actually. So that's available in the hospital setting, or when I work as a care coordinator, I provide services to them. Most of them, I hope you can relate it from your experience in your profession. And under this Ontario Heroes volunteer platform, my services and expertise are available for everybody. Therefore, many other well-versed professionals and expertise available with us, like doctors, nurses, child and youth workers, IT professionals, and engineers. And their services are available, but there are many services available in the community, but many of them not aware how to access those services, and sometimes they cannot afford to pay for the services. So we bring that accessibility and affordability under this Ontario Heroes platform. We brought the price down to zero by supplementing the care by kind-hearted volunteer under Ontario Heroes platform. That's all about it, uniqueness of our Ontario Heroes platform. We have a huge volunteer resources, and we are utilizing their resources to serve the community on a volunteer basis. Thank you for all the heroes. And if you'd like to know more about our services, please visit our website, or you can email us, or you can contact us. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today. Over to you, Dragana.
Thank you, Praveen. I must say now that it's my absolute honor to invite Honorable Mayor Bonnie Crombie for the much-awaited launch of the Ontario Heroes Career Clinic. So Honorable Bonnie Crombie is the 6th and current mayor of Mississauga and has been serving since December 1st, 2014. She was endorsed by the retired Mayor Hazel McCallion to replace her as a mayor. Honorable Bonnie Crombie graduated from St. Michael's College at the University of Toronto, and she received her MBA from York University. Prior to her election as a mayor, Bonnie served as the Ward 5 City Councillor, and previous to that, she was a Member of Parliament for Mississauga and Streetsville. Before entering the public service, she had a 20-year career in business. Since her election as a mayor in 2014, she has worked diligently to hold the line on taxes, invested in improving traffic congestion, building transits, attracted major economic development to the city, all while managing the growth of Canada's 6th largest city. So we are extremely honored to have you here, and over to you now, Honorable Mayor Bonnie.
Thank you, Dragana, and thank you, everyone. So nice to join you all. Good evening, and thank you for asking me to join the launch of the Ontario Heroes Career Clinic. I will tell you that I'm actually the 4th mayor of Mississauga. My license plate says Mayor 4. Hazel was 3rd. She was 36 years as mayor before her, Ron Searle and Martin Dobkin, and there were 2 others before the amalgamation of the city. So it depends how you look at it. Technically speaking, 4, but 6 works too. That's okay, Dragana. So thank you to your board of directors, as well as to all the professionals who volunteer their time and provide such an important service to so many in our community, and particularly many of our most vulnerable and marginalized residents. I also want to give a special shout out to Praveen Varkey, your Executive Director of Ontario Heroes, for inviting me here tonight and for being an incredible leader in our community. I just want to check that you can hear me okay, because sometimes...
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good, because sometimes I'm using the wrong speakers. As we know, well, you know how it is with Zoom calls and WebEx calls, okay? So the work that you've been doing is so important, and the pandemic has really shone a light on the inequities that many of our community members face, and we know that to be true. It's been especially hard on marginalized communities. And Ontario Heroes provides an incredible but unique platform that helps so many residents navigate our often complex legal, social, and healthcare systems. You help our residents overcome systemic barriers, improving their overall quality of life, not only here in Mississauga, but across Ontario. You're truly helping to make our community a better place. And what makes Ontario Heroes particularly unique is that it's the first platform that brings together people from diverse ethnic and professional backgrounds, all in one place. And so I'm so thrilled that tonight you're launching the Ontario Heroes Career Clinic. And over the course of COVID, we've seen so many people in our community in so many different professions display true heroism. Our nurses, our orderlies, doctors, of course, personal support workers, paramedics, firefighters, police, transit drivers, waste collectors, and so many more have taken a huge personal risk, personal sacrifice to provide essential care and the essential services. I guess I should include the grocery store workers as well. And even when COVID is over, our population will still be growing and still be aging, and there will be an overwhelming need for people to step into these roles. And that's why that making space for professionals and those continuing and those considering jobs in these careers is so very important. So it allows people, you're allowing people to come together in a safe space to exchange knowledge, ask questions, share stories. That's important to network. And tonight I know that Constable Davor Rosic and retired Constable Mark Tonkin will be leading a webinar for those considering a career in policing. And I, who, as a matter of fact, sit on the police board here in Peel, I'm thrilled. I am absolutely thrilled that they are participating and sharing their experiences and possibly recruiting some interested members into policing. What a fantastic career, and I have so much love and respect for our men and women in uniform. They really go above and beyond to keep our community safe each and every day. But it's this kind of collaboration that really excites me. It's how we build strong networks and how we build a strong community. So once again, want to thank you, Praveen, and Ontario Heroes for the important work that you're doing. And I know that Career Clinic will be a great success. And I thank you again for having me here tonight. Good evening, everyone, and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor, for those inspiring words for officially launching our career clinic. This is a proud moment for us as an organization, for a woman, first and foremost, to have done this for us. I take pride in the fact that it is Madam Mayor who launched this career clinic for us. And thank you so very much for highlighting the importance of the fact that we are the first organization that has brought diversity in terms of professionals and ethnicities under one umbrella. So that particularly is, I'm glad that you can see that as our distinguishing factor. And thank you so very much for officially launching our clinic. Over to you, Dragana.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much. So now it's the time to be moving to our much awaited webinar on policing in Ontario. Let me hand over the session now to the moderator of the webinar, Dr. Sandeep. Dr. Sandeep completed his MBBS from India and immigrated to Canada for his higher studies about 3 years ago. He completed his postgraduate diploma in international healthcare from St. Lawrence College in Kingston. He's also a volunteer of Ontario Heroes. So a very warm welcome to Dr. Sandeep, and over to you now.
Thank you, Dragana. Thanks a lot for that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to be a part of this team today because this is a very important session that is happening and which is hosted by Ontario Heroes. And I'm so happy and extend my deepest gratitude to Madam Mayor for finding time from a busy schedule and being with us today. It's with immense pleasure that I say that the Career Clinic, which is introduced by Mr. Praveen Worki under the Ontario Heroes, is something which all international candidates as well as regional people are looking forward to. Because to achieve the dream job, we need proper guidance. And for that proper guidance, we need to hear it from the right people. And with all that being said, let me introduce the main speaker of today's session, Provincial Constable Davor Rosic. A brief introduction about him. He was born in Bremen, Germany in 1966. His parents had fled the conflict of Yugoslavia. At the age of 2, his family moved to Quebec, where he attended a French elementary school. In 2008, he moved to Mississauga, Ontario, where he attended a French high school. In 2014, he attended University of Toronto, where he graduated with a bachelor's degree with majors in criminology and political science. He began working with the city of Mississauga as a transit enforcement officer. In April 2019, he began working as a provincial constable with the Ontario Provincial Police, based out of the Port Credit Detachment under the Highway Safety Division. I welcome you on board, Provincial Constable Rosic, to enlighten us with today's session. Over to you.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Sandeep. It's a pleasure and honor for me to be a part of this webinar on policing. First, I would like to thank the Honorable Mayor Bonnie Crombie for her warm welcome speech. Also, Ontario heroes who are doing a very big part in this community and are taking great steps into making it easier for immigrants and second generation immigrants, any people that are looking to join into the society, into great careers. It's great work, and I'm very proud and happy to be a part of that. I would also like to extend a thank you to Praveen, who's been a wonderful spearhead to this movement. And my hat's off to him. I've had the ability to work with him closely within the last couple of weeks. And it's great work. Keep it up. Furthermore, every volunteer and also you, all potential applicants and people who are interested in policing in Ontario. I'll start off by introducing myself. I'm Constable Davor Rosic. I'm a provincial constable with the Ontario Provincial Police. I've had the great opportunity to be part of a lovely organization, and it's just been a complete different experience from anything I could have imagined. It's a lovely career, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not from the recruiting office. I'm just a road officer. I take part every day in the policing of this community and this province. This job is not perfect, right? I'm going to start off by saying that. It is difficult, however, it is very rewarding. You help a lot of people. You deal with many different situations every day, but we'll get more to that later. First, I just want to thank everybody, including my family who are also on this call. Thank you for all your support, the speakers as well. The Ontario Provincial Police polices 2/3 of Ontario. It's very wide. We cover a long range of kilometers and kilometers. There's actually a fact that if you start from the north part of Ontario and go to the south, most southern tip, it's actually a larger region than if you were to go from Toronto to Las Vegas, right? So it's a very big area that we have to police. And so there's also some issues and challenges in that. But luckily we have around 5,000 officers that are putting their lives on the line every day, and they're also doing great work in every community they're posted at. So let's talk about the motivation for being a police officer. It's very important to have the right motivation to become a police officer, right? One thing I try to encourage people to do is before they apply to become a police officer, write a letter to yourself. Take a piece of paper. On that piece of paper, write why you would like to become a police officer. Because I will tell you, there's some tough times where that's going to come into question, where you're going to wonder why you joined this job. However, the motivation is very important. I'll tell you about my motivation, which was simply to help people, of course. But also, I'm a first-generation immigrant, and I'm really thankful for everything that this country and this wonderful province has given us. And I felt it was like my duty to help others and to make sure that everybody has the same opportunity that I had. And that is what my motivation was. Of course, every motivation is different for everybody. However, I strongly recommend always keep that in your mind and always write it down. So one day if the going gets really tough, you open that letter and you see why you became a police officer, right? That's just some insight that I found very helpful. So before applying, you have to understand the risks and challenges of the job. I'm not going to sugarcoat the job, right? I'm out there working every day. I see the good and bad. The risks are, it's a dangerous job, right? However, there are many great things about the job itself, right? Some of the risk, we work long hours. We work 12-hour shifts most of the time. You work 5 days in a row, and so it could take away from your family life a lot. However, you also have another 5 or 4 days off as well. So you have time to adjust your schedule and spend time with your family, right? But it is long hours, and you never know what's going to happen during your shift. You might have to deal with something in the last minute of your shift, and we're not in a position to refuse work, right? Someone needs help, you have to go. So it could do for some long hours. However, it's very rewarding, and I'll get to that later as well. Your fitness is very important, right? So before you put your application in, you don't need to be an Olympian, don't get me wrong. However, fitness is a very important part of the job. At the end of the day, you have the responsibility to save someone's life, to help people in need. And obviously, sometimes your fitness level is needed to be at a higher level because it's going to be required in order to save someone's life, right? If you have to pull someone out of a burning car, or if you have to run miles to catch someone, right? It's just some things that you're going to have to do within your career. And therefore, a fitness level that's above average is definitely recommended. And also, the job takes a big toll on your health as well, right? Right now, I'm in Caledonia. I've been sitting in a cruiser for the last 7 days, right? So obviously, fitness is very important to keep yourself and everybody around you safe. When it comes to the OPP, we also have to be able to police everywhere in Ontario. Like I mentioned before, we cover 2/3 of the province when it comes to policing. In some remote areas where you have towns of 200 people, where you have, you're the only officer available within miles and miles and hundreds of kilometers. So you have to take that into consideration. With the OPP, when you apply, they ask for your 5 preferred locations. They take it into consideration, and right now we're pretty low staffed, so there's a good chance that you get the posting that you'd like. However, the reality is, it's possible that you want to stay in, let's say, Mississauga, where you get posted somewhere up north in Moosonee. You ask me where Moosonee is, I wouldn't be able to tell you. You'd have to flip the map over and look on the backside of it because it's so far north. But it is something that you have to consider when you're applying to the police. Municipal services have different processes and different areas of policing. Therefore, it's also, if you would like to stay locally, it's a good idea for you to apply to a local police service who also offer great experience with policing, right? But obviously I'm with the OPP, so I'm going to push the OPP agenda here. I love them. Another thing before you apply is volunteer. You have to volunteer. It's inevitable. However, when you apply, the recruiters look at you as a person, as a complete package. Therefore, if you have to stay at home because you need the income, right? You're not able to work an extra hour or 2 a day or even a week because you have someone at home that needs your care, or whether you're working to stay afloat. Everything is understandable, right? They look at that as a complete package. Taking care of your loved ones, or if you have to work extra hours in order to stay afloat, that brings character to you, right? Doesn't mean that you have to volunteer. However, if you can volunteer, it's important to volunteer because it's something that we highly look upon. We're part of the community, and in being part of the community, you need to put some work into the community as well, right? But when it comes to what type of volunteering, you could look at any kind of volunteering, whether it's at your local hospital, there's also Kids Help Phone, or any kind of volunteering. Even if it's not with the police, it doesn't have to be with the police, but as long as you're doing something to better the community around you without expecting some reward or payment other than just a gratifying service, that's all well looked upon, right? So don't hesitate to volunteer. It doesn't matter where, even if it's at your local food bank, whatever it is, as long as you're giving time, it's well looked upon. And honestly, it's obviously gratifying as well, right? It's a very good feeling to be selfless and give some of your time to others that need your help. So when it comes to law enforcement in Canada, in the province of Ontario, we have many different types of law enforcement. Perhaps someone here, or perhaps potential applicants, are not interested in becoming a police officer. That's okay. There's so many different career paths when it comes to any kind of law enforcement. For example, when it comes to policing, you have 3 different types of policing. You have a federal police service, which is the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which polices Ontario as well, but they do more covert operations because the OPP and other municipal services are there. But if you join the RCMP, they may be able to send you somewhere else in Canada and other provinces. And that's also an opportunity, and they're always looking for people, and it's a great service as well. The Ontario Provincial Police is the provincial body of policing for Ontario. So we have jurisdiction everywhere in Ontario. When it comes to the GTA, for example, this is where I work. I work in Mississauga. We deal with the highways. So highways, because it's a provincial highway, we're the ones that deal with the highway. But there's plenty of other municipal services as well, and there's no better or worse service. We all do the same thing. Peel police officer does the same work that I do, and they can enforce their laws on the highway or in Halton region, wherever, right? Because we're all police officers in Ontario. We can enforce the law anywhere in Ontario and provide our services. When it comes to other kind of law enforcement opportunities, there's also like corrections, right? Corrections is where you work in the jails. They need a lot of people as well. So there's a lot of growing opportunity in the law enforcement field, and corrections is certainly one of them. It is a good job. It is secure. It is you deal with the inmates and provide a safe environment for them as well. If that's something that interests you, I could definitely recommend that you go on their website or contact them. They're a good organization to work for as well. Furthermore, there's special constables. So a special constable is it is technically a police officer within Ontario. However, they do not have a use of force options such as a weapon, a firearm, and other stuff. But they also have the right to arrest people and are protected by peace officer laws within Canada. They do a lot of background work that makes an incredible difference for us as frontline officers as well. For example, you have court office special constables. They provide more of the background where it comes to having to deal with the legal system and making sure that the accused are making the court safe and getting the process going. So it's a very important aspect and job that they have to do. Further, there's prisoner transport, if that's what interests you. Which basically you take an inmate from one area to another, and it's still a well-paying job with great benefits. It's also, a lot of people see it as a stepping stone to become a police officer, and I know a lot of special constables that have become police officers, and it's a great job, and it's sorely needed as well. We also have legislative officers. Legislative officers are police officers that actually protect the courts. So you're going to have a lot of officers when it comes to the federal court or provincial courts that are stationed at those courts and make sure that everything is running smoothly and everything is safe. It's a good job as well. Further, when it comes to the legal service, the Crown's office is always looking for lawyers, for paralegals, for clerks. And as much as I hate to say it, the Defense Council is also something that's very imperative and needed in this country. There's a lot of opportunities there if that's something that interests you. Obviously in Canada, you have the right to a lawyer, and I believe it's very fair and it's needed. It's something that's fundamental to our legal system. And it's definitely something that's interesting and that can definitely pique some interest in some of you. However, when it comes to civilian opportunities, so us as the police, most people see the police as just the officers. However, behind us, there's countless and thousands of workers, civilian workers, that enable us to do what we do. And they are heroes themselves, believe me, such as collision reporting center employees who take your collisions and help you out through that whole ordeal. Furthermore, there's civilian data entry for the OPP, which enable us to do our work a lot easier and compound different kinds of informations in order to enable us to do our work more efficiently. Court offices and dispatch. I can't tip my hat enough to dispatch workers. They are crucial and they are heroes themselves. Now you have to imagine that they are the ones that answer the call, right? When you are having the worst day of your life and you pick up the phone and need some help, they are the first contact when it comes to policing. It's a very, very hard job to do. It is a wonderful job and it's thankless, believe me. It's incredible what the work they do and what kind of people they are, right? They help us a lot, and also their work goes very appreciated within our community. When it comes to technology, so obviously policing itself has become more and more oriented towards technology because all of society is becoming more and more technological. What I mean by that is crimes are becoming more of a technological aspect. You have a lot of fraud that's going on, people calling your house, scams, also electronic fraud, robberies, all of that. So it's becoming very prevalent. And when it comes to our field, we have a lot of civilian opportunities when it comes to IT to actually do some kind of background investigations to make sure that our officers, which most of us, let's be honest, are not very technologically able, we are able to get the help that we need in order to understand what's going on. There's also a lot of, in our cruisers, for example, there is countless and incredible technology that needs to be updated and needs to be inputted and formatted. So there's a lot of work when it comes to IT, and it's a wonderful job, and it's sorely needed as well. But let's get to the application process. I'm sure a lot of you are interested in becoming a police officer, and I certainly would hope so, because it's a noble and great profession. So I've had a lot of questions about the age requirement, right? You have to be at least 18 years old to join the police, right? You have to be classified as an adult under the criminal code. However, there's no maximum age limit. I honestly recommend anyone and everyone who's interested, regardless of their age, to apply. I know officers that have joined the force at 50 years of age and over. I've known officers as young as 21 years of age. I was 22 when I joined the service. There's no age constraint when it comes to becoming a police officer. In fact, I believe that we need a wide range of age when it comes to officers, right? Because we're all different. We all have different life experiences, and that comes all together. And sometimes you need an officer with more experience than you to come and help you out. So I wouldn't, as long as once I get to it, your fitness level, right? If you're 50 years old and you have a good fitness level, by all means, you should apply. Right? Because there's a lot to say about life experience when it comes to this job. You're going to be talking to a lot of people. You're going to be dealing with situations where someone who's younger might not just be as confident to deal with that situation. And the police knows that. They know that. So it's definitely something that you should look into, and do not be afraid to apply. And for when it comes to the age requirement, do not worry. Okay. When it comes to education, that's another big question people have about education. There's no such thing as a bad education or as a preferred education when it comes to policing. The education itself is just being able to advance yourself in the way you think, and obviously gaining skills, right? So anything, if it's a college degree, diploma, whether it's any kind of course, an university education, a master's degree, a PhD, anything. What that shows in your education is that you're willing to go steps ahead and advance yourself in your knowledge, right? Which is something in policing that we constantly have to do. There's no preferred type of degree that is going to give you an upper leg, because long gone are the days where you would go to police foundation and you know what, that's it, you're going to be a police officer. Or if you go to accounting, you're going to be an accountant. When it comes to policing, we have to deal with so many different situations and experiences, such as there's frauds. We need accountants to look at frauds, right? We need IT and technology majors, because a lot of the crime that we're dealing with nowadays is not so black and white. There's a lot of technology involved, right? We need pilots because we have helicopters that we use, right? There's so many different aspects of policing and so many different specializations that whatever education you are interested in, right? You don't have to go to a police-oriented education because whatever you are studying, whatever you love, chances are that in the police, there is a unit that's going to be encompassing that, and that's going to be needing guys like that. Like I know, for example, engineering. We have accident reconstructionist teams that need engineers, because when it comes to big accidents and some involving fatal collisions, we need to be able to reconstruct that scene and know exactly what happened. And the people that we rely on are actually engineers that have, a great sense of what to do in those situations. But like I said, education, whatever education you can get, the better, right? There's no such thing as a bad education. Keep going and just try to educate yourself and try to show that you're able to critically think and also to want to better yourself every day, right? When it comes to driver's licenses, okay, so I've also gotten some questions about driving. As a police officer, you're going to be driving a lot. Every day, you're going to be driving at least. I'm on the highway, I drive 12 hours a day for work, right? Therefore, the police, most police services mandate that you don't have 6 demerit points. If you have more than 6 demerit points, your application is going to be denied. That being said, if you have a ticket on your record, it's not the end of the world, right? As I said before, when you apply, the police looks at you as a whole person, as an applicant, and if you fail one thing, that doesn't mean they're not going to take you. There's no such thing as a failure. If you get a ticket, it's not a big deal, right? As long as you can articulate that you learned from that experience, right? If you were speeding one day and you got caught, right? As long as you can show that that corrected your behavior and you learned something from it, it's actually a beneficial thing, right? I'm going to tell you right now, if you go through the application process and you try to make yourself seem like you're perfect, it's not going to work out well, right? Because none of us are perfect. We've all made mistakes, and as humans, we understand that other people are going to make mistakes as well, right? Which is why you become a police officer. People make mistakes, and it doesn't mean that you have to be afraid of that, right? Mistakes happen. As long as you can say that you've learned from, let's say, getting a speeding ticket or any other thing, it's not necessarily the end of the world, believe me. Obviously, like I said, just like say that you learned from it, and that which is what tickets are supposed to be, right? Tickets are not some form of punishment where I'm just giving out tickets just because I want to. No, it's actually to correct the behavior. And if you can show that your behavior has changed because you've learned something, it's only going to make you look like a stronger applicant, right? Because even as a police officer, we make mistakes. As much as we want to be perfect, we still make mistakes. And it shows that you're willing to accept that and that you're willing to move on and make yourself better from that mistake. Criminal records. In Canada, you cannot become a police officer if you have a criminal record. If you get a pardon for whatever record you have, then you may apply to the police, right? It's very important. I believe that you don't have a criminal record, right? Because at the end of the day, you're going to be taking people's rights away, and you're going to be, prosecuting people. And if you have a criminal record, that could come into jeopardy, right? So that goes without saying. If you have more questions about it, please reach out, and I'll be happy to help you. But now comes to the point where, okay, you've decided that you want to apply and become a police officer. Then comes I'm going to strictly speak about the OPP process. Many other services have similar application processes as us, but for the OPP, what you do is you go on the website and you download an application package. It is a long document that you're going to have to fill out, and but don't get discouraged. You know, everything's fairly straightforward, right? What they want to know is where you've lived, what jobs you've held, your names, your relationships with people, whether you have kids, husband, wife, parents as well, right? They just want to get to know you as a person a lot better. Everything there is pretty much plug and play, so you just fill it out. And obviously, if you have any concerns or any doubts, don't hesitate to reach out as well. We can certainly help you out with that. So once you filled out that application, especially now with COVID, what's happening is there used to be a prep test, right, which you would have to do before applying. However, now what they're doing is you actually have to record yourself doing a shuttle run. So you only have to get to level 7, and it's a 20-meter shuttle run, right, which is where you run from one side of a gym, let's say, 20 meters to the other side and back and forth until you get to level 7. You actually have to record yourself doing that. If you can't do it, that just means that you have to maybe work on your cardio a bit more. And like I said, there's no rush. It's a long career. So don't be afraid to, take the proper steps to get yourself ready for that application process, because it can be very rigorous. Then let's say the OPP is interested in you. And what's going to happen is you're going to have to go do a pre-background questionnaire. So we call it the PBQ. When it comes to the pre-background questionnaire, it's going to be very personal questions. I'll tell you that right now. So they're going to want to know, it's basically a security check on you. They want to know if you've ever been in trouble, if you had any interactions with the police, whether they're good or bad, right? If you've had tickets, if you've had any kind of, if you're part of any investigations, they just want to do their checks. My advice to you is to be honest, right? Because the police has a large intelligence network as well, and we work closely with other organizations. Therefore, like I said, people make mistakes. It's not a bad thing to make a mistake as long as you learn from it. So don't be afraid to be honest, right? Because the likely chances that the police will already know about it if you've made serious mistakes. But it's nothing to be scared of. Like I said, I found it it's a great process, and it allows you to look within yourself a lot and to make sure that you are ready for this job, right? Because there's a lot of things that can go wrong or that can go well, and you have to be ready to accept that and ready to take up the challenge. Once you've done your pre-background questionnaire, you're going to be invited to do an interview. So the interview is very daunting. I can tell you, when I had my interview and I got hired about two years ago, my interview lasted 2 hours, more than 2 hours, right? So there's going to be many questions, hundreds of questions. But the most important thing is that you explain yourself, right? Once you go to the interview process, you're going to sit with a recruiter. The recruiter is going to have, he's going to seat you at a place where you actually feel uncomfortable, right? You're not going to be sitting up to the table. They're actually going to seat you about 2 meters from the table so they can see how you react with your body. But it's nothing to be intimidated about. A lot of questions are going to be about how you deal with certain things in your life currently, right? It's not going to have anything to do with policing necessarily. It's going to talk about how you've dealt with perhaps some kind of arguments that you've had in the past, right? It's your way of showing who you are and how you're willing to deal with different kinds of situations, right? So don't be afraid to talk your heart out, right? Explain everything. If you've done a mistake, which you most of us have done mistakes, all of us have, don't be afraid to elaborate from it, right? We've all done mistakes. I've done mistakes too. And during my interview process, I've explained everything and I've told them I've learned from it, which I did, right? Which only shows that you're human and that you're willing to admit your faults and that you're willing to move on and make yourself a better person and a better police officer in the future, right? So it's nothing to be stressed about. Obviously, when it comes to the interview, if you feel like you need some help, if it's coming up, don't be afraid to reach out to the Ontario Heroes. I'm telling you, they will put you in contact with someone that can help you and prepare for that very daunting interview, right? Because many people think it's what makes or breaks your future career. But if you see it as something positive rather than, oh my God, like it's a negative thing, it's only going to help you in the long run. After that, there's going to be a psychological test. It's called the MMPI-2. So it's basically a fill-in, a multiple choice questionnaire, right? Which is going to ask you different kinds of questions, and you just fill in the bubble. And from then on, a psychologist is going to contact you just to review your answers. That also is something that you shouldn't be very intimidated by. At the end of the day, they just want to make sure that everything is okay, you know, that you're going to be able to handle the stress of the job, right? Which I'm going to get to later with some personal experiences that I've had. However, it's nothing to be afraid of. And there's also going to be a security and financial and reference checks. So your finances, right? They are going to be looked at. If you owe a lot of money, it's not an issue, right? The only thing is obviously you need to be explained why and how you're tackling that and how you're making it better and bringing down those debts, right? Because let's be honest, if an officer owes a lot of money and is already strained financially, like we see in many other countries, you have the opportunity to be a corrupt officer. And obviously, as the police, we can't have that. We want people to be integral and to have a lot of integrity within them. So it's something that's going to be looked at. If you have any, I can't speak to the financial thing, but if you have any concerns about it, you can definitely contact the police you're looking at, and they can help you out through that and kind of guide you as to what they would want. When it comes to references, I've also had some questions about references. References are proof of your character. So everything you're saying during your interview, right? Whatever you write during your pre-background questionnaire, reference checks allows the police to actually certify what you're saying is true, right? People speak about your character a lot, and it's very important that you have references in a variety of different ways, right? You can have personal references, school references, and work references. I think it's important for you to try to get as many references and as diverse references as you can, because it's going to speak to your character in different lights, whether that's a personal reference, you know, speaking about your personality, right? Or your work references, which is going to talk about your work ethic, right? Or school, where it talks about how you better yourself for the future. It's very important to get as many references as you can that can speak to your true character and allow the police to get to know you through other people's eyes other than what you tell them. It's also a very important aspect, right? So if it comes to references, reach out to the people you know and that know you and ask them. People find it often daunting to ask for references from the people that they know. But obviously, if you know someone and they know you well enough, they're going to be willing to write a reference, right? Because they're going to want you to succeed. Okay. Then finally, you have your home interview. So a home interview nowadays, they do it over Skype or over Zoom because of obviously the pandemic that we're going through. But it's usually the background investigator that takes care of it. So once you're done your interview and they do their checks, you are going to have a background investigator look into you, right? Once again, it's nothing daunting. It shouldn't be intimidating. If you've done your job and done the application process properly, they'll already know. So what they're just going to follow up with you. You're going to go through a Skype call, and they're just going to ask you some follow-up questions on certain things that they're interested in. It's nothing, once again, it's nothing to be afraid of. And it's actually a very pleasant, in my case, it was a very pleasant experience. And then once you pass through all that, congratulations, you're now hired as the provincial constable for the Ontario Provincial Police. So what happens when you're hired? So the first week, what happens is you're going to be sent to I'm talking about the OPP here, you're going to be sent to Aurelia, right, which is where our headquarters is. Aurelia is just north of Barrie, about 40 minutes north of Barrie. And there you're going to have a 1-week orientation where you're going to have to pass some physical tests. Right now, what they're doing is they're first doing the prep test, which consists of the shuttle run, and certain aspects where they're going to be judging your core endurance and your strength. And then the PIN test, which is different than the prep. The PIN is actually mandated by Ontario. To become a police officer in Ontario, you have to pass the PIN test. It's actually, and I'm sure people who have concerns with age requirements, the PIN test is actually, it's a process that takes into consideration your gender and your age. So the older you get, let's say, the less push-ups you're going to have to do, and less time you're going to have to use the core endurance, right? So you have to get 75% in order to pass. It's very manageable. It's something that I personally believe every officer should do every year, because we have the ability to do it every year. But it's certainly something that is important, and it's also not a daunting experience. But once again, if it's something that concerns you, please reach out to Ontario Heroes and we'll get in contact with you. Once that's done, you have to go to OPC. OPC is the Ontario Police College. Every officer in Ontario has to go to that college. So a lot of people think that you need to go to police college before you apply. But what happens is, in Ontario, the system we have is a police service has to hire you in order for you to go to Ontario Police College. So once you're hired, the service that you've been hired with is going to send you to that college, right? Which is where you're going to learn the basics of policing. You have to pay for it. It's about $14,000, right? However, from the moment you get hired, you get paid by your service. So it offsets the cost, right? And there's a lot of solutions out there that police services and police unions offer in order for you to pay for that schooling. However, it covers everything. It covers your board, your room, your living arrangements, and your education, and any books that you need in order to succeed in your education. It's a great experience. The Ontario Police College is in a town called Aylmer in Ontario, which is just east of London, Ontario. It's you have the weekends off, so you get to go home over the weekends. But Monday to Friday, you have to be there, right? Because everything is hands-on when it comes to policing. This is where you're going to be learning the different laws that you're going to be enforcing, right? The Ontario Highway Traffic Act. You're going to be learning about the Criminal Code of Canada, other provincial statutes and federal statutes that you're going to have to learn in your job and apply. You're also going to be learning how to drive a police vehicle, right? Which is police vehicle operation, which is very important because we spend so much time in the cars and we need to learn how to drive safely. And also sometimes we have to drive fast, right? To get to a call. So that they teach you some of that aspect and how to drive properly and as safely as you can. You're also going to be learning how to fire your firearm, right? You're going to have firearm training and other kind of use of force. But there's also lately, which I really appreciate, there's also a lot of mental health conditioning when it comes to policing. So at Ontario Police College, they're going to take baby steps into how and which services are available to you as a police officer, and some tips and tricks on how to deal with the stresses of the job, which is very important. But it's a very, very pleasant and supporting experience, right? The people that work there are all police officers that are there to teach you how to do a proper job and how to stay safe. So when it comes, and then so once you're done OPC, which is the Ontario Police College, for the OPP, you're going to be sent to the Provincial Police Academy, which is up back in Aurelia. There you're going to have an extra 8 or so weeks. So OPC is about 14 weeks. And then you're going to be sent to Aurelia for about 8 weeks or so for additional OPP training. There you're going to learn how to use the computers that we use, the systems that we use, right? Any kind of administrative programs that we need to use. You're also going to have extra training on firearms, police vehicle operation, and they're just going to try to advance further your understanding of the laws that we're going to be enforcing. And officer safety as well, which is very important, right? Because at the end of the day, we all want to go home at the end of our shifts. And then once you're done that, which is about 8 weeks, you have your graduation, and then you get sent to the detachment that you are being posted at. I got Mississauga, so I arrived in Mississauga, and I was placed with a coach officer. That's an amazing experience, right? You get really close with your coach officer because you spend so much time together. So the first 2 months during the days and nights, you're gonna be with your coach officer at all times. They're gonna show you the ropes. You're gonna be driving around with them. Next month, I'm actually gonna have a recruit myself, so I'm gonna be a coach officer, and I'm very looking forward to that because it's an amazing job and a great experience. But yeah, you get shown the ropes and how to do things. After 2 months, you get to go out on your own during the days, and at nights, you still have to be with your coach officer until you hit the 4-month mark. At that point, you have just free reins. You're going to be alone by yourself through every shift. But it's a great experience, and there's always help there for you. Your coach officer is always there for you. And obviously some things people find challenging, they're always going to help you out, right? You're never going to lose your job for making a mistake that can be corrected, right? So it's nothing, it's awesome, believe me. And then congratulations, you're a full-on provincial police officer. So let me touch upon the kind of the benefits and drawbacks of policing. This is all from my personal experience, right? Some of the drawbacks that I find are there is long hours, right? You're working long hours. There's a lot of overtime involved, right? You're going to spend some time away from the ones you love, right? So that can be very, very difficult for some people, right? Especially people with young children or you know, people that need care, right? So there is support networks within the police that allow you to help, allow you to get help and kind of cope with that. However, it is something I found a bit difficult, and many officers do, right? But another thing that we have to deal with is stress. Stress is almost hand in hand with policing. A long time ago, officers weren't, even recently, officers weren't able to admit that you know, they were feeling stress from the job. But I'm glad and lucky that it has changed, and that now we're a lot more open to talking about stress and how the job impacts us. Stress itself, you're going to deal with situations that are very unpleasant, right? If you can think right now of the worst thing that could happen to you, one day you will have to deal with it because someone else is going to be going through that, and you're going to have to go to that scene and help those people, right? So it's something you have to understand that it is a reality of policing, right? You can't avoid it because as the police, we can't refuse work. We have to go to that call, and we have to be willing to help. And that's something you have to find within yourself to want to do, and that you're willing to go that mile, right? Because it's not easy, and this job is not for everyone. Because you're going to see a lot of things that are not pleasant, things that will, some nights you're going to have a hard time sleeping because of what you saw or what you had to experience. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to make this job out to look like perfect, but you will deal with some stress. And there is a great amount of deal nowadays of support networks and different kinds of help we can access as police officers, and rightfully so. Right? Another part of the job that is dangerous, right? I work on the highways, and please, I know you guys are all out there. If you see flashing lights on the side of the highway, slow down and move over, because I can't tell you how many times I've had wind almost pull me back onto a lane because someone didn't want to slow down, right? And that's just my job as a highway enforcement officer. But you're going to be dealing with people that are armed, that are going through a really tough time. Some people are just having a bad day, right? Or they're not, they're going through some mental health crises, right? So you're going to have to be the one that goes out and deals with that, right? So it can be very dangerous, and situations can escalate very quickly. And you have to be willing to accept that and know that You can't just run away because you are the one that has to deal with that situation. No one else will, right? Now that we got rid of we talked about the drawbacks of serving as a police officer, there are many benefits. Don't let me discourage you from becoming a police officer, but it is something you have to consider whether you're willing to go through those situations. I've seen death, and unfortunately it's a part of life, but there is a lot of coping mechanisms that officers can use and are taught how to use in order to deal with those things. But the benefits, so the job is incredibly fulfilling, right? At the end of the day, you are helping people, right? When someone picks up the phone and they call and they need for help, you are the one answering that call. No one else is. So it is very fulfilling, and at the end of the day, you have some good days, right? Where you help save a life, where you've helped a victim of a crime find peace and justice. So it is incredibly fulfilling, and I can't say that I've had some days where I wasn't happy. I try to be happy always, but people are very thankful for the service that we do. And most of the time, people are on their worst days when they call for help, right? So you have to be, that at the end of the day, what you're doing is right. And it's not necessarily always giving a ticket, right? Or people see as, a lot of people complain about tickets, but police officers do much more than that, right? We have to put on many different kinds of hats, such as the one I'm wearing right now, a police officer. But sometimes you're going to be giving first aid to someone who's in need of critical care, and you're going to be saving lives. You're going to be a social worker sometimes. You're going to show up to a scene where someone's in a crisis, and you need to be able to talk to them. So it's very fulfilling, and it's a very very good career where you're going to be dealing with a lot of different things, but having wonderful experiences. You're going to make many friends, and other officers are going to have a great time with you because you work so closely together, and it's a great, you're going to find great camaraderie within the police. Further, it's exciting. You're going to deal with a lot of stuff. The benefits and pay are a great thing. Obviously, when you're looking for a career, you obviously want to be covered when it comes to pay and benefits. And I can tell you as a police officer, we have great benefits and pay as well, right? Career advancements, the police, like I said before, it's ever growing larger and larger and in different kind of specializations. Us as the OPP, we have 80 different specialized units. That is a lot of units that if you're interested in doing something, trust me, they have it for you to be there. But apart from that, when it comes to diversity in policing, right? Nowadays, Ontario is ever growing in diversity and rightfully so. But policing itself has to reflect that. Long gone are the days where you had to be a white officer, because we need to be able to police the communities that we serve in, right? So obviously the police should be a reflection of the community, because that's what we are, right? We are the ones that want to help the community. And so it's going to be very important that the police also grows in diversity and allows, first generation immigrants or second generation immigrants to also join the police. And I know a lot of people had questions whether you needed to be a citizen or not. For the OPP, you need to be a permanent resident, at least. If you have your citizenship, that's good, but we also accept permanent residents. I know almost 4 or 5 officers in my detachment are permanent residents. So that's also a great way to look at it, right? But apart from that, I truly am proud, and I'm very excited that I was able to share some of my experiences with you. Obviously, an hour of a presentation is not going to do it justice, but do not hesitate to reach out, right? It's an exciting and wonderful career. It's the best job in the world, believe me. If you're looking and interested in joining, do not be afraid to reach out to Ontario Heroes, and we'll try to help you out as much as possible. And I really want to thank Ontario Heroes for having me and for allowing me to share some of my stories and experiences that I've had with policing. And I really hope that some of you who are interested do apply and reach out, because we need good officers, and we need many officers, right, to do the job that other people don't want to do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rosic. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful session from you. And I think we have a question from Sharat. I don't know if he's available. Rosic is still there. Yes. Sharat, you can go ahead. Sharat has a question for you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharat Prasad. I'm a software engineer by profession. First of all, before I go to the question, I thank Ontario Heroes for conducting this amazing event. Also thank all the coordinators, OPP, especially Officer Rosic. It was a great speech. I enjoyed every moment. It was amazing. And I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. It will be quick. First of all, I had a personal experience myself that when I was on a highway and there was a situation where I had to call 911 or police. So I dialed 911 and my experience was, okay, if you are on a highway, you have to call OPP. So I didn't know that what was a number to contact OPP directly. Is there a number, such number that like a 911 where I can dial directly for the OPP? And the second question is, you talked about the policing job, like the process, all the process. I just wanted to know whether even the civilian jobs, like not the front line, is it the same process? Like we have to go to the college and, is it the same process or it's a different process? Because just wanted to know.
Yeah, thank you, Sarath, for your lovely questions. They're very good questions, actually. So if you are in the GTA and you need to access the police when you're on the highway, the easiest way is to dial star OPP, which is 677. That will get you in direct contact with the OPP. However, I believe that if you do call 911, it's an emergency, they will contact us directly anyways. But obviously in a safe bet, if you are on the highway and you need some kind of help, whether it's roadside assistance, or if you're having mechanical issues and need someone to make sure you're not getting hit from behind, do not hesitate to press star 677. When it comes to civilian applications, it's a very good question, I forgot to mention. But no, you don't have to go to police college. You don't have to do all these different applications. If you're looking for civilian opportunities, there's actually the Ontario Public Service website, which is ops.ca. And there it's basically just like applying to any other job where you're going to send in a resume, you're going to get called for an interview. Obviously, I haven't had many experience with it, but any kind of civilian jobs, as well as special constable, if other people are involved, interested, it's all done through that website and through their process. But thank you for your question. It was a very important question.
Thank you.
Sharat, thank you for the question, and thank you, Rosic. Once again, we are really grateful. The entire community is grateful to the entire police force who's doing an excellent job, even in the time of pandemic, protecting and making sure the community is safe. And we really extend our gratitude to all the families of you guys. They're also doing a wonderful job supporting you guys in this mission. So once again, thank you, Rosic, for being a part of Ontario Heroes and explaining all these things to all these people. Now let me call Aaron to do the facilitations now. Over to you, Aaron.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Aaron Jacob, and I'm a second-year Ryerson student studying criminology and criminal justice. As Honorable Mayor Bonnie Crombie highlighted, the pandemic has taken the world by storm, and despite its challenges, it makes me proud to see how our community and essential service providers have come together to support one another. I have great pride in our Canadian police force and in hopes of serving my community. I too aspire to become a police officer. I found this webinar to come about at the perfect time, as I've been in search of mentorship opportunities where I'm able to seek advice from someone who works in the field. I'm sure that my peers who have also joined found this webinar to be extremely informative and insightful, and we truly appreciate Constable Rosic for taking the time to provide us with this webinar on policing in Ontario and for his service in the OPP. I also want to thank Constable Tonkin, Honorable Mayor Crombie, members of Ontario Heroes, such as Mr. Varkey, and everyone else who has worked behind the scenes for taking the initiative to set up this Zoom call to provide individuals like myself the opportunity and resources to learn more about careers in policing. You are all heroes. I've learned more than I could possibly imagine in the past hour and feel inspired to pursue a career in this field after listening to this webinar. I look forward to the mentorship opportunities, and I want to thank everyone once again for coordinating and participating in this call, and I hope everyone stays safe during this COVID pandemic. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Thank you, Aaron. Thanks a lot. Now let's move on to the next phase of today's session. And that has been taken by retired Constable Mark Tonkin. I will give a brief introduction about Mark. So Mark immigrated to Canada from his birthplace in London, England. He settled in nearby Gulf with his family. He attended to the University of Gulf, where he studied music and sociology. In 1984, he was hired by Peel Region Police as a police cadet. After a 15-month apprenticeship and a further year of training and coaching, Mark became a patrol officer for the region of Peel. Over 33 years, Mark gained experience in uniform patrol, traffic, plainclothes investigation, homicide bureau, and supervision. Now, in 1999, Mark was selected as an instructor at the Ontario Police College, which is the Central Police Training Academy for all new officers in Ontario. Mark educated new officers in academics, officer safety, and defensive tactics. At the conclusion of 3 years settlement at the college, Mark returned to Peel, where he continued as a police trainer. Mark became a training officer at Pearson Airport, followed up by a 7 years transfer to the Police Vehicle Operation Bureau. At the completion of this assignment, Mark was given the opportunity to run a community police station in Malton. In 2014, a new unit was created to assist citizens of Brampton and Mississauga who were in crisis. Mark was selected as one of the officers to start up this new policing initiative until he retired in 2017. The Unit 24/7 crisis supports Peel, and that is the reason why Mark ended up as one of the speakers for today evening. After retiring, Mark has utilized the skills provided by his years of policing to work in the security field and to start a company involved in training security guards. Mark has now embarked on a career as a retirement home inspector, ensuring compliance with provincial legislation, protecting our seniors from abuse and neglect. Mark lives on a horse farm near Gulf with his high school suite at Sharon and served several rescued pets. He enjoys scuba diving, skiing, and teaching self-defense. I welcome Mark on board, and I'm really looking forward to Mark being our mentor for this session, as well as for the further sessions to come in. Welcome, Mark. The floor is yours.
Hi, how are you? Can everybody hear and see me?
Yes.
Am I here?
Yeah.
You got me. Okay, sorry. I live out in the country, so my internet is sometimes a little bit sketchy. But, oh, there I am. I have a much better face for radio nowadays. I'll just talk briefly about what I did in my journey becoming a police officer. A lot of it's very similar to Constable Rosic, so I'll try not to cover too much of the same ground. One of the organizers, Benoit Joseph, has all my contact information as well, and I'll be more than happy to follow up with anybody because of time constraints. Anyways, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Dan Mayor. It is a pleasure to be speaking to you about a passion of mine that in so many ways has defined me as a person. I'm honored to be speaking to each and every one of you who has zoomed in tonight, and to be part of the launch and be invited as a presenter for Ontario Heroes organization. It's something I never would have imagined. Your organization offers assistance across so many different realms and is so necessary that I hope my words are worthy. The level of volunteering that was described at the start of this webinar is absolutely beyond imagination. As was said in my introduction, I served the citizens of Peel Region for just over 33 years. It may seem like a long time, and I guess it was, but it certainly flew past. But here's a brief, interesting perspective of my timeline as a police officer. When I started on the police force, I was a teenager. When I retired, I was a grandfather of 2 beautiful girls. That's how fast my 33 years went. I took an interesting path to becoming a police officer, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a few minutes. Most people I knew who wanted to become police officers grew up knowing that. They wanted to be police officers from the time they could walk and talk. For some people, becoming an officer is their ultimate goal. They gear their entire day-to-day life to achieving this goal. Becoming an officer is extremely competitive, so your early formative years are extremely important. You have to rise to the top on very many levels because of the competitiveness. As a teenager, a potential future officer must definitely not be on Santa's naughty list. Suspensions from school, poor or failing grades, detentions, arrests or charges, either provincial or criminal, could definitely be disqualifiers. Very poor driving record or just an overall unsavory lifestyle will make you much less competitive against someone who's, say, an honor student who volunteers, helps around the house, gets involved in sports and groups, and displays good character and integrity. Education is extremely important. A lot of the police agencies and police services put a lot of weight on post-secondary degrees or diplomas, or at least continuing education after high school. But that is not to say that it's always mandatory. A few officers I've worked with have at one time in their lives been homeless. They've lived on the streets in their younger years, or they've spent their formative years in foster care for a variety of reasons. They may not have had the opportunity to obtain any formal education, but being able to be self-sufficient and resourceful and not get into legal difficulties while living by their wits, it says a lot about a person's character. My path to becoming a law enforcement officer was a little different. I moved to Canada when I was very young and became a citizen in the mid-1970s. I know I'm dating myself a little bit here, but it all joins together towards the end. My family settled in Guelph with mom, dad, and my sister and myself. My dad was a teacher, mom was a nurse, so there was not really any law enforcement history in my family. My sister became a pharmacist and a doctor, and now she's the head of pharmacy for Hamilton Health Sciences. She was definitely my parents' favorite child. I managed to get through school and complete high school, including grade 13, when it still existed in Ontario. I played soccer and was and still am an avid skier. My family attended the Salvation Army Church, which is a Christian organization. I was specifically in Guelph, and I'll tell you why I'm talking about that. A lot of my friends and mentors in my growing up were some pretty good people. I was involved with the church 7 days a week, and I think that's probably what kept me out of getting in trouble. 3 members of the church happened to be police officers for the city of Guelph. I thought it was kind of neat, but I didn't really have any idea what a police officer did. Right after high school, I was accepted at the University of Guelph, where I studied music and sociology. I soon realized I wasn't ready to continue my schooling. I needed a break. I approached my parents, speak to them about it, and my dad gave me a rather interesting response. He said, if you want to leave school, no problem. Just get a job with a pension. I said, well, that sounds like a great idea and a good deal. So I soon found out the police officers receive a reasonable rate of pay, a nice car, nice clothes, some pretty cool training, and believe it or not, a pension. So my parents always thought I'd be involved with law enforcement. They just weren't sure really which side of the jail cell I'd be on. So it all worked out good in the long run. I submitted my initial application in October of 1983 and couldn't wait to get started. I didn't hear anything back, but I do remember a comment from one of the human resources folks when I dropped off my application, and she said, "No news is good news." So I held my breath and I continued along with my studies at University of Guelph. Over the course of my first couple semesters, I ended up attending several interviews, I wrote several tests, had a psychological screening evaluation, physical exam, a fitness test, more interviews, and eventually a gentleman, a sergeant with Peel Police, came to visit my parents and my neighborhood. He actually went door to door speaking with all my neighbors. He also attended my high school and contacted a few of my ex-girlfriends. I remember spending a lot of money on flowers as a token of appreciation to those lovely ladies. In June of 1984, I was hired as a police cadet. And this is something for parents who may be listening in. If you have kids that are in school, getting through high school or getting towards the end of it, the cadet program is geared towards an age group of 18 to 21 years. And it's very much like an apprenticeship. It's a paid position. You work all the regular shifts, you wear the uniform, but you don't go out and do police duties by yourself. The main purpose is to expose potential future officers to all areas of a police department. Biggest argument I hear when I introduce the cadet program to people is parents say, well, I want my son or my daughter to get a degree or go to college or have post-secondary before they get on a police force, before they think about it. A degree is very important, and I agree 100%. But the good thing about that, Peel is extremely committed to continued education. I can't speak for the OPP, but I know a lot of police forces are. degree or diploma has to be somewhat related to law enforcement and in some way needs to be a benefit to Peel Regional Police. So my music degree wasn't really overly relevant, but if the continued education is seen as beneficial, it's paid for in full by Peel Police. I've worked with officers who've received bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and doctorates, and it's all part of their employment with Peel Regional Police. And if you count the pennies, that is an awful lot of money and quite a benefit to be with the police force. It's also a win-win situation for the person receiving the education and the police force benefiting from the person's knowledge. In September of 1985, I turned 21 and I was hired as a police constable. After approximately a year and a half of training, mentoring, coaching, evaluations, testing, push-ups, and education, including 15 months at the police college, Constable Rosic mentioned that everybody in Ontario goes there. It's never changed. It's been that way since the 1960s. I ended up, I was given a green light to go out on the road, go out and save the world in a police car. It ended up being just a little neighborhood in Mississauga, but to me it was pretty exciting. Some of the areas of Peel Police I had the opportunity to work I'll glance over briefly. I won't explain every one of them. Constable Rosic was very detailed, and every police force has a lot of the similar bureaus. The newest one that we have in Peel operates drones, looking for missing people and taking photographs of car accidents and crime scenes. It's kind of neat. It would have been something I would have probably done if I had more years left on the job. I originally worked uniformed patrol officer, driving a police car and protecting and serving the public to the best of my ability. I attended calls of all sorts as a first contact for somebody who's called either 911 or Peel Police. There's unlimited things that I have had to go and investigate or be a part of, but missing persons, stolen cars, break-and-enters, car accidents, impaired drivers, assaults, bomb threats, shootings, stabbings, robberies, a lot of other things that you see on the news every day. Occasionally, there's that guy in your rearview mirror that makes your heart pound a little faster when I pull up behind you. I became a coach officer, training new recruits, and then a traffic officer, trying to keep the roads a bit safer and taking some of the bad drivers or people who aren't responsible enough to be driving off of the roads. Eventually, I moved from South Mississauga up to Bramalea, and finally to my favorite part of the region that I patrolled for several years, the village of Malton, a small residential community near Pearson Airport. Absolutely incredible community. I was utilized as a uniform patrol sergeant and spent a few years as a school resource officer in a unit called Neighborhood Policing Unit. I was assigned to 2 high schools in Malton. We're utilized as a resource for students, went on field trips with the students, taught classes, and basically broke down a lot of barriers between police officer and the students and teachers who may never have a chance to meet an officer another way. In 1999, I was seconded to the police college as an instructor, and I was there for 3 years. I taught academic subjects, officer safety, and defensive tactics. I became a provincially certified defensive tactics and use of force instructor. And the 3 years at the police college ended up paving the way for my post-police career that I'll touch on just as I finish up. I returned to Peel in 2002 and continued training officers in defensive tactics. Then I went to Pearson Airport, trained officers on federal law relating to aviation, and then a police vehicle operations and pursuit prevention instructor. I was transferred to the Homicide Bureau to help out with a couple of murder investigations, and shortly after, I ended up in Malton at the Malton Community Station. It's a very small police station in the Westwood Mall, operated by 3 officers, and it's a point of contact for people living in that community because there is no police station nearby at this time. My last transfer, an incredible opportunity and something that kept me on the police department 3 years past my retirement date, was to be part of an inaugural launch of crisis support unit called 24/7 Crisis Support Peel. I got to wear my own comfortable clothes, drive an unmarked car, and I either worked with a social worker or a nurse. It was a fresh breath of air instead of always working beside a police officer. I got to work around the entire region of Peel, responding to people in mental health crises. Myself and my partner offered support provided connections with services, and sometimes took people to hospital when they were needing help or unable to take care of themselves due to mental health crisis. So that's what brings me here. One of the organizers on tonight's event spent a lot of time sitting in my passenger seat. Binoche, Joseph, he introduced me to stories about Kerala, the best biryani in the world, dosa, and lime pickle. My fridge is full of all. Binoche saw some of the best parts of policing with me and some of the worst. At the beginning of our partnership, we were patrolling in Brampton when an officer called for an interpreter. He wasn't sure what the gentleman spoke, but it came over the radio with something like Malayalam. And I had never heard of it in my life. And my partner, Binoche, stepped up and said, "I speak that." It ended up being an elderly gentleman with some memory issues who was lost in a busy area of Brampton. And because of Binoche's demeanor, gift with languages, and just the right place at the right time, we managed to get the gentleman home safe and get the family some support and resources. I would say that was probably one of the best of times. Just before I retired, Binoche and I attended a call with a gentleman who was living with schizophrenia, and he wasn't doing very well. After about half an hour of talking, he pulled out a large butcher knife, and we went into a rather heated physical confrontation. Both of us were injured, taken to hospital, and Binoche happened to be there. I don't even know if we ever really talked about it, but it was one of the things that Constable Rosic said, that there are some bad times and some scary times being a police officer. But I would say in my 33 years, the good has much outweighed the bad. I retired in 2017, and I've never been busier. The skills given to me by the police department by working for 24/7 crisis support Peel and the mental health training, working at the police college, everything that's built up over 33 years gave me the opportunity, several opportunities. I worked as a security director for the Mississauga Resort, which is in Alliston. I have my own company where I teach security guards, use of force, handcuffing, baton, de-escalation techniques, tactical communications. I worked at Trias College teaching potential police officers subjects in police foundations. And in April, due to COVID, I was contacted by the Retirement Home Regulatory Authority, which is a ministry to help out with COVID. As you can read in the news, the retirement homes and long-term care are really getting hammered with it. So we're doing what we can to help out. And I've been there since April, and I'll probably stay for the next couple of years. I was lucky because I started at 19, and with 33 years on, it let me retire at 52. I don't miss sitting in a police car, and I don't miss working night shifts, but I definitely miss a lot of the people, and I really enjoyed my whole time there. Once again, I'd really like to thank the organizers for the opportunity to speak tonight at the inaugural Ontario Heroes launch. It's a real honor, and it's something that I would have never imagined. For those interested in getting into policing, as I said, you can reach out to me. When I started, nobody in my family had anything to do with policing. Now, my son has been a police officer for 11 years. His wife is a police officer. My wife at one time was a police dispatcher, and this isn't going to sound very good, my current wife was a prison nurse, and my mom was a prison nurse eventually later in her career. So I don't know if my son's children or my daughter's children will become police officers, but it's a fabulous career. In Ontario, there's 46 police services that do municipal policing, and I'll include OPP with that because a lot of the smaller communities are policed exactly the same as what I do as municipal officers. OPP also does take up the provincial highways. But there's 46 different forces all across Southern Ontario that are always looking for people. I'd like to thank you for inviting me, and that's about all I've got to say.
Thanks a lot, Mark. That was a really interesting one. And we're really happy that we have you on board with Ontario Heroes. And we look forward to you mentoring a lot of people who are interested in joining the police force. Now, let me introduce Fatma to do the facilitation for the same. Over to you, Fatma.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Fatma Sajibate. I am the Executive Director for the Federation of Sierra Leonean Communities of Canada. We are privileged to have the opportunity to work with the Ontario Heroes organization and its brilliant and dedicated team of volunteers who has provided numerous educational workshops such as chronic disease management, COVID, fatigue, stress management, and many more to the Sierra Leonean community, especially during this unprecedented time of COVID-19. We want to sincerely thank and congratulate Ontario Heroes for its wonderful services, and we look forward in continuing working with Ontario Heroes. But I wanted to end my my message with a quote that I found very interesting from an unknown author that says, volunteering is the ultimate exercise in democracy. You vote in elections once a year, but when you volunteer, you vote every day about the kind of community you want to live in. Thank you.
A lot, Fatma. Now let me call upon Abdullah Nasri to do the facilitations. Over to you, Abdullah.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Hi everyone. I just really want to thank Ontario Heroes for giving me the opportunity to come here and listen to Constable Rosic and retired Constable Mark Tonkin. I really appreciate it. I was actually in the process with PO just a couple months ago, but unfortunately I didn't pass through. So I was just coming here to get the insightful information for Constable, retired Constable Mark Tonkin, and as well as Constable Rosic as well. So I'm pretty excited to be here, and I'm looking forward for the opportunity to actually be mentored, and I can't wait. And I just want to thank everyone here again, and especially Parveen for allowing me to come and listen to this great webinar today. Thank you, everyone.
Be quiet now.
Great. And that's with the session for today. And it was a wonderful session. I hope all of you have enjoyed and understood what was being shared. I really appreciate both the speakers for today who have took the time and explained all in detail about what we need to know. Now, to know more about the session, we have recorded the session and it will be available on our website, and all your questions can be answered there. And that's it for today, and I'm moving on to Dragana.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sandeep. Now my job will just be to kind of finish this lovely presentation for everyone on policing in Ontario by calling Lorna Patrick. She's the board member of Ontario Heroes, and she will do some vote of thanks. Go ahead, Lorna.
Thanks, Dragana. Thank you all for joining us this evening at Ontario Heroes and taking part in this very informative session. Let me take this opportunity to express our sincere to the Honorable Mayor Bonnie inaugurating our Heroes clinic. So our keynote experiences policing in and special thanks for technical experts. Thanks to our staffing recruiters, New Age Healthcare, and Nets Staffing Solutions. And last but not least, thanks to all our participants who joined us over the webinar, and most of all, to all our dedicated volunteers. Thank you and have a blessed night. Over to you, Praveen.
Thank you so much, everyone. And especially thank you, Honorable Mayor Bonnie Crombie and Officer Davor Rosic and retired Constable Mark Tonkin and members from Sierra Leone community and Sandeep and all participants. Thank you so much indeed for joining us today. So have a good evening and a good weekend. Thank you so much.